My name is Lynn Ranåker, and I work at Region South Fire and Rescue Service, and I'm an analyst strategist there. Before I started at the Rescue Service, I was working at Lund University as doing research in biology and how fish interacted with each other and how climate change affected that. And then the Fire and Rescue Service hired me. So now I try to combine what you're doing, the researchers, and take that into our world, how we actually can use it. So do we have anyone from the Fire and Rescue Service in here? Good. Perfect. Because I will mainly speak to you, but I think that the researcher can add on and maybe see, oh, maybe we can do research on this. Demography, is it just a buzzword or something that we can use in the Fire and Rescue Service today? We have many different factors that we actually have to look upon to try to prevent the next accident. Men and women, because we know that men are more likely to end up in an accident also. And we also have to think about when people are born or when they're dying and about the age. We have to think about the whole population and if you have disabilities and others. One thing we know also is really important when we come to fire is the money. How much money do you have? And what is your income? What kind of house do you have? Do you live in the city center or do you live out on the countryside like I do? What kind of sports you're doing can reflect how if you're active or you're non-active. That will also affect the health. You talked a lot about it. So if you're like me, you can move around, you will be less likely to end up dead in a fire. Educational level. We also seen that from research. Depending on which educational level, you will also be more or less likely to end up in a fire or actually die in a fire. Crime. We know that some fires, they're not just happening when we're cooking or unintentionally. It's actually someone that starts the fire with an intention to hurt someone else. So there are quite many factors, and then we have this. Is it only an accident when we have a fire? And we know that, no, it's not. So we have to look at different factors here to try to combine all these factors, put the layers on layers, so we can actually prevent the next fire from happening or some other accidents. Are you with me on this one? So you have to start building this layer. You cannot only look at one factors, because then you will not go in the right direction where you have to do the best prevention work. And also when you look at demography, you can look at many different levels. So here you have the whole world. That's one part of the demography. But you have to scale that down. So now we have Sweden. You have different regions here. And for those who don't know, I'm working down here on the white parts. Skåne. And we have Burlöv, Eslöv, Kävlinge, Lund, and Malmö. And we try to prevent fires and other accidents down here by using these layers to see where we have to be. And we have this population, because the population, that's the one that starts the fire, so we have to interact with them the whole time to understand what is actually going on here. I'll try to speed it up because I also thought your presentation was really important for us. So we have Skåne, and we have our municipalities, and we have people living here. And depending on where these people live and their economies are and what they're working with and so on, we will have different risk factors. So you can pinpoint down at the small square in one of the cities, and we know that here is a bigger risk for something to happen, or bigger chance for something to happen, compared to if you just move like 1 kilometer away, and the risk can be really different. And one thing with the demography is also that's changing the whole time. So we have people migrating into Sweden, but we also have people migrating within Sweden. So every year we increase our population in our municipality with at least 1%. That means with 5,000 more people in our region every year. That's 50,000 in 10 years. It's quite a lot. And we have to be aware of who's moving in here, because it's the person that makes the accident. And we have to be aware on all these factors. What kind of new factors do we have? I will just show that in this picture that we have changed in the fire and rescue service, of course. This is a picture from Motala, I think it was, where you used to have these horses going out, and now we have the bigger fire trucks going out. So we try to be with what's happening out there. While things are changing in our city, this is Gustav Adolfs torg. And it was so fun when I found this picture, because there are so many people out there walking around. I would say that people are more maybe inside now. That's also one thing, one factor that we have to think about. And also that we have a more complex building. We don't have this H&M house in this picture, but I can say this picture here, if you just look, if you would go a bit over there, there is a big bus, you have many cars. So much more is going on there. So many more risk factors, but also that you have all this complex building. And what does this complex building means when we have a fire? Will they be able to get out from the house nowadays? And more likely to have more people in there as well. So the composition of the humans being here, we have to be really aware of who's here to be able to rescue them when something happens or prevent the accident. So as a fire and rescue service, we have a lot of challenges. We have the law saying that we need to prevent accidents, fires. We need to respond to it. And then we have to start to think about what will we prevent and how will we prevent it. And in the response, it's quite easy. We need to be fast and efficient. And we have to think about all these factors every time when we want to answer some of these questions. So when we want to prevent an accident, it's really good for the fire and rescue service to look at the data the whole time, so we don't end up with the increasing trend of a fire. So we want to stop them. And if we are here, we could see, okay, now we have an increasing trend in the fires. Why is that so? Is something happening with the demography out there, or something that the factors are changing? And quite many times we can say, yes, it is. Sometimes we have elderly population in buildings, and they're not able to handling cooking anymore. So that could actually be that we can see in this area now we have more fires in the kitchens. So then we can start our prevention work in that building and the area around it. And we can also see that there will be an effect of it. But there are also so many other factors that we need to take into this aspect, and also start to think about what can we do as a fire and rescue service, what can others do, and what can we do together. And we talked about it earlier today, that we as a fire and rescue service, we really need to work, cooperate with so many others today to be able to handling what we are supposed to be handling, taking care of you all out there when things are not going well. And then we have to think about being efficient and being fast. So when we ask people, what do you expect from us as a fire and rescue service? And I was talking to a couple of days ago here at the conference, and said, people want us to be fast and nice. And I think it summarizes it quite good, because that's what people expect from us. And how can you be fast? A fire, as you talked about, is dynamic. So you have to be there quite quick to just having a small fire, so it will not grow large. So someone have to take care of the fire. So if we have a fire here, we have a station here, it might take 5 minutes, 10 minutes for us to get there. And then we need to start think about how can we recruit people to to actually work here. But maybe we should put on another layer. How can we find people closer in the society that are volunteers that could actually do this first help? And there can also demography help us. Let's see, it's on this picture as well. So then we can look at, so what are the age in this area, age range in this area? So let's say around here. So we have this red spot here. This is just made up numbers, but just to show you how you can use demography and also how I have been doing. So I got a question a couple of years ago. So if we put a fire station here, are we able to recruit? Who's living in the area? So then I did something like this. So I looked at who's living in this area, and here you have the age. So if you find something like this, you can say that could be quite hard to recruit here because you have an elderly population. But if it would look more like this, then I would say could be quite good to have a fire station here, or there will be people volunteering. Maybe you find more volunteering up here because here you have more time to do volunteering. So you can use people differently depending on which age group you will find. And then you also have to look at, okay, we want to have a part-time station. What else can we look at? Are people working close to where they live? So how many of the people living up here are working close to their homes? And depending on the outcome here, you can put, again, layers and layers and try to figure out, will we be able to recruit in our area? So we can respond fast to the accident. So here, if you use this information, the municipality has it, and it's there. So just ask for it, and you will be able to use that in your everyday life while you're working. And you will be more efficient in how you're doing your prevention work and also being fast and efficient. Are you with me on this one? How many of you, that's from the Fire and Rescue Service, use data to try to prevent accidents? Yeah, I saw your presentation yesterday, sir. That's good. Perfect. So we have some using this. So just to go back to this, is demography just a buzzword? I would say that if we as a fire and rescue service will be efficient and use the money well that we're getting from our municipalities, we start to need to use demography much more, all these factors, to put these layers, to be able to help the one that we're supposed to help and be fast, efficient, and prevent the accident. Because we don't want to end up with this silver gray generation, the old men and ladies ending up in a fire and they're dying. Because then we need to work more together. I would like that, but hopefully we will not have anyone more in my region that are dying from a house fire. So thank you a lot for listening.